So there are three things that Chiefs Kingdom seems to believe right now, but honestly, I feel like we're all setting ourselves up for disappointment with at least one of them. Welcome back to All Chiefed Up, the #1 independent Chiefs channel on YouTube. Do your boys a favor, like this video, subscribe to the channel. Mike, are you ready to talk some football, brother?
Yes, absolutely. I'm ready to talk some Chiefs football today, Steve. I think a lot of people have got their hopes up right now that maybe one certain wide receiver named Tyreek Hill could be coming back to the Chiefs. That is one thing a lot of Chiefs fans think or believe that could happen, Steve. And a lot of it is because Nate Taylor recently stated there's a 50 to 60% chance that Tyreek Hill joins the Chiefs this season after that Week 4 ACL tear last year.
Yeah, for sure. And this is obviously going to be a popular topic for fans to be talking about right now, including us, because there's some of the emotional attachment to Tyreek Hill and L'Jarius Sneed for good reasons. We had a lot of good times with those two guys on the team, won a lot of championships. So I think it's just natural. And why do the fans keep believing that this is possible, though? I think that's something that we should talk about. Like, why do we keep telling ourselves, yeah, they're definitely going to get Tyreek Hill back when he's ready to go? Or, yeah, they'll bring L'Jarius Sneed back now that he's homeless.
Yeah, well, it makes sense. The Chiefs have done this time and time again. Brett Veach cannot quit a lot of players. He's even given up draft capital year after year to get guys that he actually regretted going out and drafting before a certain DK Metcalf. So it's not crazy for people to think this. And honestly, I'm a firm believer that one of these two probably end up back in a Chiefs uniform before it's all said and done. If I had my preference here, I'm going to take Tyreek Hill over L'Jarius Sneed all day.
Yeah, I don't know how many people would agree with that. I think it'd probably be close to a 50-50 split if you really talked about it. But here's the thing. I think both of them could add to the roster right now and bring something that we don't have in some way or another. And they both have a lot of experience, and they have a lot of experience in this team setting with a lot of the guys that we have here. Obviously, they were the read. We just brought back Eric Bieniemy, who they're familiar with. Obviously, Mahomes, Kelsey, Chris Jones, everybody's still around. I think that would fit really well, and it could kind of fill some needs that we have. However, Mike, there are some cap and roster realities you have to talk about right here, because even in those positions, we're already talking about some potential roster battles, and you just did a video talking about the cap space situation.
Yeah, we're in a little bit of trouble here. We have to get somebody to not restructure, but to take that conversion. It's going to have to be Chris Jones or Creed Humphrey, Trey Smith, Nick Bolton. Somebody like that's going to have to step up and do it, because we don't even have enough money right now to sign our top 4 draft picks, which is round 1, round 2, and then 109. So we've got to do something like that. We've got to get it moving in the right direction. And I don't know, a lot of people are wanting us to sign, like, say, Stephon Diggs, but I just don't think we have $13, $14, $15 million. Now, look, if Tyreek Hill's going to want that money too, I'm sorry, but I just don't know if we can swing that, especially knowing that maybe he misses some part of this season because he's not ready to return. L'Jarius Sneed, on the other hand, I just don't think we need L'Jarius Sneed in our secondary. I think we got younger, we got better. We even traded up to number 6, spent more draft capital to get Mansoor Delane. We signed Kader Kohou in the offseason. I feel like our secondary is coming together pretty well. L'Jarius Sneed in 2025 allowed a 137.7 passer rating and had a 50.4 PFF grade. So I don't want this guy really back there, to be honest, because what kind of snaps is he going to eat up, and whose progress and whose development is he going to hinder?
But he's notoriously played his best football for Steve Spagnuolo in the Chiefs uniform. He fits the system really well. And here's the thing, man. KC usually looks forward, not backward. But you mentioned Derek Nottie, McCole Hardman. Well, you didn't mention them, but you hinted at them.
Yeah.
They will go back and do this from time to time. So I don't think that you can say never when it comes to this subject. I think it's quite possible that one or both of them end up back on the Chiefs roster. You guys get down in the comments and let us know what you think about it. Would you like to have them both? And if you only want one, which one would you rather have, Tyreek Hill or L'Jarius Sneed? Mike, let's move it along to another subject the Chiefs Kingdom's been talking about heavily, and that is the run game. Now that we went out and got Kenneth Walker III, Andy Reid has mentioned that they want to run the football a little bit more, take some pressure off Mahomes coming off that injury. Brett Veach has talked about it. They've stacked up the running back room pretty well so far, drafting Emmett Johnson. They went and got Demarcado in free agency. Brashard Smith's still hanging around, guys. So, I mean, we have some guys back there. But now everybody's just completely convinced And, I'm partially convinced, but there are a lot of people that are 110% convinced that we're just going to be this run-heavy offense, that we're going to rely on the run. We're going to run first. We're going to run often, and we're just going to ball control and run the ball down people's throats. And that's just how it's going to be. Mike, I don't know if I can buy that because Andy Reid has notoriously not done that in his career.
Right. Now, look, it feels like we've been led in the direction to make us think that this is what's coming. Number one, Patrick Mahomes and the recovery from the ACL. It feels like you should want to ease him in.
It would be smart.
Right. Brett Veach was even on the Pat McAfee show just last week, and he said, quote, "We want to get Mahomes a run game to rely on so he can get back healthy. Last season left a bad taste in our mouth." So even coming out of the GM's mouth, who paid the big bucks for Kenneth Walker, who took another chunk of money in the offseason and signed Emari Demarcado, who spent a 5th-round pick in this draft on Emmett Johnson, actually traded up to get him. They are investing a lot of money there at the position. So I don't think it's crazy that people think this is the way we're going to go with it. This is the caveat. What is a heavy run game and a heavy run scheme with Andy Reid at the helm? Is it 20 carries a game? Is it 25 carries of the game? Or is it Andy Reid's version of a heavy run game that's 13?
Exactly,
so
man.
You don't know.
That's exactly what it comes down to. What does run heavy even mean for Andy Reid?
Right.
I mean, notoriously, Andy Reid doesn't like to run the ball more than 20 times. We've talked about this time and time again on this show, and I'll just mention it briefly, but we've done a lot of digging, and usually if the running backs get 20 carries between them in a game, Patrick Mahomes' win percentage is 99% or above. He wins a lot when you actually run the football. So it just seems easy. It seems like the thing to do, right? But Andy Reid, he's notoriously not done that. He does not do that. And I understand that they're trying to tweak the philosophy there and make it a little bit more run heavy, and even kind of using Patrick Mahomes' injury as a catalyst for that. They brought back Eric Bieniemy. They got DeMarco Murray. They got all these running backs we're talking about. Andy mentioned it. Brad Veach mentioned it. Doesn't mean a damn thing. Like, we all know that these guys are full of smoke screens. We watched it in the draft heavily. They're not just going to go tell everybody in the league, hey, we're going to run the ball a lot this year. We're just going to run the ball every play. Get ready for it.
Right.
So I think that there's some truth to it, that they are going to put a little bit more emphasis on it. But I think that's just the obvious. Like, you didn't run the ball last year. You had no run game. You were one-dimensional. Your team sucked ass. So I think that's just the obvious stuff here. But you have to put it into perspective, Mike. It's all about ratio. What does heavy run offense mean for Andy Reid? And I'm with you. It could mean 13, 14 carries. He could think that's a lot.
Right. It also maybe just means we're going to run the ball under center more. I think a lot of Chiefs fans, me included, I'm part of that fan base, that believe that we need to run the ball under center more. I think with Kenneth Walker, you feel as though that's going to be the case. I'll say this, though. He's also, Andy, as I was referring there, he's looking at running backs that like to take a lot of carries out of the shotgun. I have noticed that when he was scouting specific backs and we were getting names during the draft process. When I was going to watch a lot of film, he wanted guys that were zone read and they were coming out of the shotgun a lot. So that leads me to believe that maybe they're not going to change that all that much. Look, Kenneth Walker had a really good season in 2024. I mean, it was pretty good. It wasn't great. It was about 570, 575 rushing yards, 7 tutties. He upped that last year, and he'd done that with pretty much a split backfield with Zach Charbonnet. He got over 1,000 yards, 5 touchdowns, one of the higher grades in the league. And then we went out and signed Demarcado. And look, Demarcado, he's a guy that I think people are forgetting about now. He's not Emmett Johnson. People are more familiar with Brashard Smith, but Demarcado can absolutely protect Patrick Mahomes. That's number one. He also had 7.1 yards per carry last year. Now, look, he had limited volume. He only had 44 attempts, but 7.1 yards per carry is huge. Why is that? Well, the Cardinals had one of the worst offensive lines in football, and he was still putting up 7.1 yards per carry. Brashard Smith had the exact same amount of carries last year, 44. He only averaged about 3 yards per carry. So he was just about doubling and then some with a worse offensive line. So Demarcado can flat out play. He's fast. He can protect. I don't think we should be throwing Demarcado to the curb just yet. And then, of course, you're not going to draft a guy like Emmett Johnson and invest that much into him and then, You know, you may put him on the bench or he may lose his carries, but you're not cutting the guy. So if the Chiefs want to take 3, if they feel like they can only take 3, I don't think it's a crazy thing to say that L'Jarius Sneed is fighting for a roster spot. Chiefs Kingdom, we have officially partnered with Prize Picks, America's #1 sports picks app. Prize Picks is a daily fantasy sports platform. It's distinctly separate from a traditional sports book, and it's the absolute best way to add some extra heat to every single game. The app is incredibly easy to use. You aren't playing against sharks. You're just picking more or less on an individual player projection. Think Kenneth Walker's total rushing yards per game, more or less. Travis Kelce's total touchdowns in 2026, only 4, more or less. You just pick at least 2 players, lock in your lineup, and you're in the action. Prize Picks is available in most states, including California, Texas, Florida, and right here in the heart of America, Missouri and Kansas. One thing we love is the new public feed. You can actually find and follow us directly on the app at All Chiefed Up. You'll be able to see our live lineups and tell our picks before we even post them here on the channel or our other social media platforms. So if you haven't joined yet, just download the app and use code HMA when you sign up. When you play your first $5 lineup, you're going to get $50 in lineups instantly. Click the link in the description, use code HMA, and remember to always play responsibly. Now back to the show.
Yeah, we talked about that yesterday in a live stream, and some people didn't like it, but that's just the reality of the situation. And here's the thing let's talk about a couple things with this subject as a whole, Mike, and you kind of just hit on it with the running back depth. Better running back depth does not automatically equal that there's going to be an identity shift on this team. It doesn't mean that.
Yeah.
They needed to get some more running backs anyway. They had to refresh that room regardless. Okay. Now we also know that Reed historically adapts well, but we also know that in the last 3 seasons, he's been sitting on his thumbs, hasn't done anything. And that's why the Chiefs got to this position. So he's got to get back to adapting. Will that adapting be running the ball a lot? Maybe not. Maybe Reed has something else in mind. And here's the thing, injury or not, Patrick Mahomes is still Patrick Mahomes. So Patrick's not going to want to go hand the ball off every play. Andy's not going to want him to hand the ball off every play. I mean,
right.
Ever since Patrick Mahomes has been on this team, every important snap, they want to put the ball into Patrick Mahomes' hands.
Why wouldn't you? He's the GOAT.
And they do it every series. It's not just at the most critical points in the games. It's like every time they need a 3rd down, they're not going to hand the ball off. You know, like every time they need something, it's going to be in Patrick Mahomes' hands. I don't think that's going to change. Being more balanced as an offense, because we talked about how they were one-dimensional last year, that also doesn't mean that they're going to be run first. I think Andy could still have the philosophy of pass first, run second, open up that run game with the pass game. That's been his philosophy for 30 damn years. So it still could be that, but they could be a little bit more balanced, right?
Yeah.
And then I also think it's situational football versus an entire philosophy change. I think there are times where Andy Reid did run the ball heavily. You can look back at the game last season when the season was on the line. They were playing the Indianapolis Colts, and what did he do? He ran the football down their throat with Kareem Hunt, dude. So, I mean, Andy will do things situationally, but I don't think overall his philosophy is as changed as maybe we're hoping it will be. You guys get down in the comments and let us know how you feel about that. Do you think Andy is actually going to be a run first, run heavy offense? Or do you think it's going to be a lot more of the same, just a little more balance with better players? Let us know what you think about it. Mike, let's move it along to another subject that Chiefs fans have been talking about a lot. And this one is a little more broad and it's a little more speculative. But a lot of people are just saying, hey, now that we got Kenneth Walker III, now that we got Eric Bieniemy back, now that we got Chad O'Shea, we're instantly going to be the 2018 Chiefs offense, and we are going to light up the scoreboards. Do you think that's a real thing, or do you think that's wishful thinking?
Right. I don't think you're crazy to think that the offense gets better. I honestly don't know how you get much worse. Let's be honest.
True. But there's a difference between getting better and expecting fireworks constantly.
Right. If you think we're going back to 2018, you might be just a little, I don't want to call you delusional, but I think
could it happen? Sure.
It could, but I think what you're doing is you're just kind of overshooting. You're maybe setting yourself up for failure here. And I think out of all these we've talked about today, this may be the one thing. That is the thing that's going to set people up for failure. And that does not mean the offense can't look better. It can't mean that it looks drastically better. It doesn't mean that we don't run the ball more. It doesn't mean that we don't become more efficient in our passing game. It doesn't mean that our receivers don't get open more or our play designs look better. It doesn't mean none of that. But I just feel like 50-plus TDs for Mahomes, going back to this crazy high-flying offense like we had Tyreek Hill back in 2018 and all this stuff, to me, it feels as though it's a bit of a stretch because on one hand, that's what you're wanting. On the other hand, we just talked about how people are wanting a run-first offense.
Well, I think that all goes together.
I don't think one thing can lead to another.
No.
I think that you can use one to set up the other, but I don't think you can be both. I don't think you can be a ground and pound team and a high flying team at the same time. I just don't see how that works.
That's not going to happen, but there is a correlation there. And here it is, Mike. The Chiefs have evolved and the league has evolved. Okay. Defenses figured out after they got their ass spanked by the Chiefs that bad all the time that, hey, Pat Mahomes, he isn't the greatest with the cover 2 shell defense. Okay, we can slow this thing down a little bit. And guess what? Andy doesn't like to run the ball that much. So we'll do that. We'll put it on him. So, I mean, the league's defenses have evolved since then. So they know better how to defend that type of offense. And obviously the Chiefs have evolved. They don't have the same players anymore. They don't have a prime Tyreek Hill. They don't have a prime Travis Kelce. So they're evolving. They're going to have to do stuff just a little bit differently. And I think it's going to be one of those things, Mike, where it's like, efficiency versus explosiveness. Now, could this team coming up be the most efficient offense since 2018? Absolutely. No doubt about it. But that doesn't mean that they're going to be as explosive as that team, right? Because there are opportunities to be. I mean, I think you think about Xavier Worthy and his speed. You think about what Tyquan Thornton showed in flashes last year. You think about the big playability of Rashee Rice and Jalen Royals once they have the ball in their hands. You think about Kenneth Walker III being here now, who was the biggest home run threat in football as far as running backs are concerned. So it's definitely on the table. It's not insane to think that the Chiefs could be extremely explosive. But I do think it's going to be more towards an efficiency side of things other than pure explosiveness. I think they could still be elite. And I think they could be in the conversation with best Chiefs offenses, but I think it's just going to be different.
It's more efficiency, just like you said. We can get more efficient. I don't know how much explosive we could be if you want to commit to a run game. Then again, we just said that Andy, what is his definition of a high-powered run game? What is his definition of taking the ball out of Mahomes' hands at times? I don't think he really does that for the main, for big chunks of the game. This is what I wanted to do. I wanted to go back and look at some historical benchmarks. So since the year 2000, the highest scoring offenses, I'm talking 2013 Broncos, 2011 Saints, Chiefs, 2018, they're in there. They all averaged over 310 yards passing per game. Now, the problem with that is that last year we only averaged 214 yards passing per game, so almost 100 yards less. Now, you can say, well, if we run the ball more, it could open up the passing attack, and that is 100% possible. But historically, teams that rank in the top 5 in rushing volume, so when the rushing volume goes up, they have seen at least a 15 to 20% drop in chunk passing plays of 20-plus yards. Now, that's weird because we've always been told you pass to set up the run, you run to set up the pass, but run to set up the pass is what we've all come by. Andy seems to do it backwards. The thing is it doesn't feel like that is working in the league right now. The 2013 Broncos, the highest scoring offense ever, passed on 62% of their plays. How are the Chiefs going to run the ball more and be under center, and you're wanting to run, 40, 50% of your plays be a really right down the middle offense? You can't do that and expect to be a high-flying team, because since 2000, no team in the top 5 of rushing attempts has also ranked in the top 5 of passing yards. So again, you can't have both. You're either going to grind it out and you're going to take your shots that you have to hit, because you're going to have less shots if you're going to commit to running the ball more. So I think that might be the difference. Mahomes is going to have to hit. And what we've seen over the past few years, they've not been on the same page. The wide receivers haven't caught the ball. The throws have not been on the mark. It's looked really bad trying to take those deep shots. They're going to have to clean that up this year, or the running game's really not going to help you too much with taking those deep shots.
That's right, guys. So what if the Chiefs become the best version of themselves, but not the version that you're expecting? Would you rather them go back to just being a complete fireworks show or just winning football games? I think I know the answer, but you guys get down in the comments and let us know what you think about it. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, make sure to leave a 5-star review. If you're watching here on YouTube, hit that like button if you had any value out of this video today. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and we'll catch you next time. Go Chiefs.